welcome back to channel TrainStation2. Alright, we got second and the fifth competition, and definitely there'll be one more to fight for. So this is a miss of it, and it is not a very long competition. I think the last one will be longest, but then it is some of really in terms of fatigue, event fatigue talking about. Generally in the first three competition you must try your best to get 1000 event coins. If not by the fourth or even by the fifth, you should get it already. That's only provided you get top 3 or even I call it top 5 in every single competition that you stand a chance. You may be thinking, how would you be able to get top 5? I think a lot goes into its planning. Planning I'm talking about in terms of building the necessary inventory. Alright, so your warehouse space are always limited, so what to put in it will be the event items, and what not to put in it will be the non-event items. And so where should you be keeping the non-event items? I would say it's keep in your factory. So generally I'll upgrade all factories using gems, and then once it's fully upgraded I will build all those things that take a long while to build, and then eventually they'll be in my input tray, output tray actually. So in the input tray, what's going to happen is that you keep on feeding it in terms of raw materials. You'll be storing the production, and all the things that you put in the input tray will be basically orders that cannot be processed. So for example, you store the production and then you put in a chair order, and when you cancel that chair order you get back timber and nails. So generally that's how it works out. So I mean, in terms of those event items, you just keep building, so eventually your warehouse is full of them and you do not worry about the time taken to build them. So what to build is definitely those that take the longest hours to do so, and I would say that sometimes even the non-event items you need to build those that takes like 1 hour or so to build out. So eventually when you have those items ready in your factory, you can actually just collect them. So this is something that I think, like for example pencils and whatnot, so they are also taking up a lot of spaces in the warehouse. So if you keep them in the output tray itself, basically you save a lot of spaces. So for example plastics, you may be thinking you want to keep plastics in the warehouse. I wouldn't recommend that. Basically you can just call for a plastic chair order, and you basically have 200 plastics stored in your input tray since your production has been stored, and when you cancel that plastic order you get back 200 plastics. But again, you'll be faced with sometimes filled or all the way to the brim. So in terms of the warehouse, you can't squeeze in anything because it's filled to the brim. So what you're gonna do is you're really gonna bin away items that you need only a short time to bring back. For example, coal or iron. Basically these are the things that you can bin away because it's just a 30-second away you can get them back. So you really have to plan in terms of that. And next, in terms of the fleet, have a good fleet size is important, but more importantly is the capacity. You try to increase the capacity of those I will call them bottleneck trains. Alright, so these bottleneck trains are the trains that you actually only have 1 or 2 of them. So when you're being asked for delivered by those trains, for example, a very common one would be rare steam. Right, so rare steam in this particular region is really very difficult to locate. Sometimes you only have 1 of it, but for me, after a few rounds, basically quite lucky, I collected a few, so I'm not too concerned anymore. But I would say generally rare trains or even common trains are the one that I would try to increase the fleets, basically the capacity size of those fleets, because when those items are delivered, if it's just based on 4 capacity, it will take a long while, or even 6 capacity. Vis-a-vis in terms of those epic, at least minimally have an opening of I think 12 capacity and 20 for those legendaries. But these are all non-event region trains. But if you're talking about those event trains, the capacity could be even higher. 40 for a legendary. It may not be totally necessary to upgrade them, but I'll urge you to upgrade at least one of them to 80 so they can collect the maximum gold, and really you help a lot in terms of competition as well. As for epic, try your best if you could, but otherwise I think generally event epic will give you a good size so it's really not that necessary as compared to the rare and the common. And very much I've experienced is always they are making us very frustrated in terms of those triple restriction job will be rare steam. But of course, I said earlier, it's important you get a few more of those spending of keys so you can get hopefully that rare bottleneck train. So this is basically how I do about it. And of course, besides that, I think there's only hard work to go with, which is basically set timer or something like that. Every hour try to just log in for about 3 minutes, or just 3 minutes of time to send out the dispatch. Sometimes you may need slightly longer, like 10 minutes, because you have to collect the raw materials and whatnot, but generally it's just a 3-5 minutes things to do in every hourly. But of course, sometimes you just got to build up the inventory, whether it be like 3-5 minutes. So it is a mixture. But of course, you should not be foregoing your sleep. So if you're thinking that, oh, you play 24 hours, that's not possible. Definitely not worth it playing such a game. So sleep is still important. You just continue to go to bed. So more importantly, it's just that maybe I would say 12 hours of play. Every hour gets logged in 5 minutes, and so the other thinking is really collection of coins or gold every 4 hourly. So this is really equally important because without gold, which is a limited supply, you can't upgrade your factory. No, your warehouse. I mean, and of course your trains. So trains, you need parts as well. So parts is important. Parts is from you can get it from events, or basically if you're lucky or watch a video you get gold parts and whatnot. But generally people really been playing a while and they have lots of train, they'll get only parts from events. So this is something that people strategize with, and they are not after trains. But for me, it's always memorable to have that train from the event to remember from. Some people only collect, for example, legendaries, and they just wait to collect all the parts using the remaining event keys. But for me, I always try to collect all the trains if possible. Other than the balance, I'll just collect parts then. So it's a choice, I mean, generally, because to me, I think it's quite unique. Eventually, when you look back in the regions, the trains then remind you of basically what type of event you have played with, and of course, and also in terms of parts, sometimes from the mini event you get parts as well. So these are the terms of preference, but of course maybe those really good experts they are after parts, they know what they are after. So it's not so much of a train, then it's about parts of basically increasing the capacity of the trains so that to win the competition, which I think is a really smart way of doing. 5 building technique, you can see 5 buildings here. Is always I'm going to mention in every video because you need 5 buildings layout, so you get 4 jobs constantly being asked about building upgrades. Being away one, you happen to receive the next one in the 5th building, hence 5 building. So generally with that increase the population, and with the population you can do warehouse upgrade. Otherwise you'll be doing a lot of housekeeping like what I do, remove those odd small items which is not really helpful but just taking up spaces. Alright, so that's important. You can do some housekeeping as well, and of course go to plan forward what's really required, and every time you just got to plan what's required next time and you move forward from there. Levering up, if you could try to level up slowly, because the longer you stay in the region, the higher chance of you winning, because you have really a strong fleet, good capacity size. Basically that's all it helps to win. If you move on to the next region, you're starting from scratch again, and that will make you not win. And the worst part is to move towards the next region in the midst of the competition or midst of the event. This is really terrible. Try not to do that. If you could, only try to do that in probably in a mini event. Otherwise it's disastrous. It's very basically if you're not prepared with, it's a disastrous attempt. But we can share that how to prepare for moving to a new region. You should be basically keeping up the number of keys as soon as possible, save them up, and then probably at the mid of the region, like 550, that's maybe a good point, or 650 before you basically move on to the next region. Alright, with the being second, we may collect 2 big boxes, and of course first one wasn't that impressive. We got a lot of common parts. The second one we got epic parts, so not too bad after all. And that's about it. I'm not going to spend those event keys first. Probably going to save it up and see whether I can get that event rare, and if not, then I will go for the event common, and then I'm going to spend the rest in terms of parts as well. Alright, thank you for watching. Time for me to take a break, and you too. Goodbye.